Hi everyone, Mike again with MEG Motors. Today we're going to be working on this Yamaha TTR50 that's come into the shop. Typical problem these days really, it hasn't been used much in a couple years, and now it won't run except on choke. Even on choke it'll only run for a little while and then it dies. So we're definitely going to have to pull the carburetor off of this one and take a look inside. I'm sure it's got some plug jets and may even have some sort of a restriction in the fuel flow because, like I said, it'll start on choke but it won't stay running. So we're going to go ahead and pull the carburetor off of this one, go through it, get started with that, and then we'll put that back on and see how it's doing and figure out if we have to do some more work. So let me reset the camera, we'll get the carburetor off of this, and we'll see what we can do. So just looking at this one, I think we could probably get the carburetor off without pulling the fuel tank from the seat, but the battery's dead on it from cranking it so many times, and it's just going to be easier to get the carburetor off with the tank off. So we're going to go ahead and pull the tank and the carburetor, tank and the seat, and then we'll get the carburetor off of this one. So I did want to run one quick test before we take the tank off. I want to check the fuel flow coming out of the tank. Like I said, when it starts, it'll run for a few minutes and then die. So I just want to make sure that fuel is flowing out of the tank like it should. So we're just going to turn the petcock on, and yeah, it looks like it's flowing plenty of fuel out of the tank. So that's good. All right, so we'll get the tank the rest of the way off. Looks like we got to pull this cover to get the throttle cables disconnected, and we got 2 bolts here holding the 2 bolts here holding the carburetor to the manifold. And it looks like we may need to take this bracket off right here just to make some room in there. All right. All right, so now we have better access here, and we'll go ahead and get this cover off. And we've got a little bolt here holding the throttle cable in. So because there's no adjustment here really to loosen those, we're going to have to take the throttle apart up here to get the cables disconnected. So let me reset the camera and we'll get that taken apart too. All right, we've got 2 screws that hold this together. then should be able to split the housing. And then once we split the housing, we can get the cables out of the throttle tube, which will give us the slack that we need at the carburetor to get them off down there. So let me reset one more time and we'll get that taken off at the carburetor. All right, so back here at the carburetor now, we should have plenty of slack. There we go. Then we can get this cable. Hopefully I can get that out. There we go. Take that off right there. And then this one, may have to be unscrewed. I thought that would just pull out like this one, but it doesn't appear to want to do that. So you get another wrench. Bring this one around and pull it loose too. All right. I guess our throttle cable's disconnected. And we have a couple of electrical connections on the carburetor. Gonna pop those loose. And then we're gonna go back around to the other side for just a minute. All right, so we've got a couple more things to disconnect here. We have this right here, which should be the choke. I believe that's the choke. Yes, that's the choke, moved by that lever. So we gotta get that out of there. We got the clamp at the back of the carburetor for the air filter boot. We're gonna loosen that up a little bit. And then we got the two screws here that bolt the carburetor to the manifold. That was not very tight. Now that one's out. All right, and that should pretty much free up our carburetor. All right, so here's our carburetor. I've drained the fuel out of it. Through this vent line, I drained it out. So we're gonna pull the bowl off of it and see what we look like inside. Everything's really clean on this bike. It's obviously fairly new. I didn't check the year model. All right, so there's the bowl. Not terribly dirty. I've certainly seen worse. Here's our carburetor. The needle seems to be moving freely, which is a good sign. I was afraid that might be stuck because it tends to run out of fuel even when you're running it on the choke. All right, so we're gonna take a couple more things apart. I'm gonna get a different screwdriver for that. I'm gonna try to push the pivot pin out for the float. See if we can get the float to come off. That may be a press fit in there. There it goes. So we'll pull that pin out. Then the float and the needle should come off, which they do. Everything looks fairly clean in here, so I'm not expecting too many surprises. This jet, this is the main jet. It appears to be open, but it's not very big. I'm not sure what size it is. It's probably just not very big to start with. Yeah, maybe a 52. Pilot jets on big bikes are bigger than that. So, and then we're going to pull this jet right here. This is the pilot jet, low speed jet. Different people call them by different names. And this is the one where we see the most troubles. This one is definitely plugged up. Let me see what size this one is. Looks like it may say 12.5, which is a very, very small hole. And that's the problem. The very, very small hole in the pilot jet, and the ethanol in the fuel today tends to plug these up very easily. So we're gonna grab a piece of fine wire. I'll show you where I get the wire from that I usually use to clean these jets. It takes a pretty small piece of wire. There are a few places you can get wire that's small enough to clean those jets. I've heard guitar strings sometimes work. They're small, but I like to take a wire brush like this one, and I'll grab one of the wires and just pull it out of the brush, just like that. And these are very small, stiff wires that are very useful for cleaning small jets. So let me see if I can get that. There we go, that one just went through. So there, you can see that wire is going all the way through that jet now. It was definitely plugged up before, but that little run through with the wire there will clean it up. There we go. That's what I like to see. Yeah. All right, and then this one, we're gonna do kind of the same thing with. It's open, so I think it's probably fine. We'll just run the wire through there and clean it out a little bit. All right, and so the last thing we're gonna do is spray the carburetor cleaner in through this low-speed jet. So there is a low-speed adjustment screw. I'm going to count how many turns out it is, and then I'm going to take it out. So it's a half, 1 and a half. It's 1.5 turns out from full in. So I'm going to take this screw all the way out. And I'm going to spray the carb cleaner in here. So what I'm looking for is I should have carb cleaner coming out here, which it does. I should see it going in somewhere in the venturi. I see it coming out this vent back here, which is an idle air vent. There's two air vents, one for the idle and one for the main jet. That one's for the idle. That one's for the main jet. I would still expect to see, not sure where the idle fuel passage is on this carburetor, but I would expect when I spray fuel in here to see it come out somewhere in the venturi. And I haven't seen that yet. I'd like to see that to make sure that it's not still plugged up. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I can see fuel now, or carb cleaner. When I spray carb cleaner in there, I can see it coming up in the venturi, which is good. All right, so I think we're probably all cleared out now. And probably this is all we need to do to make this one run. So we're gonna put the jets back in, main jet. Tighten it down. Here's our low speed jet, our pilot jet, idle jet. All different names for the same jet. Put that in place. We're gonna put our idle screw back in. This is our idle mixture screw. Put that all the way down and then back it out a turn and a half. Half, 1.5. All right, that's good. Our needle looks good, our seat looks good. I don't see anything that needs to be cleaned there. We're gonna put this back together. Press our pin back into place. And so we have to set a thing called the float level. And there's a lot of procedures for setting that. A lot of measurements to be taken, but most of the time, if you have it set correctly, then when the float gets down on the needle, just barely touching it, this arm should be 90 degrees to the pivot point. And so this one looks a little bit high. I'm going to adjust that just a little bit. Just a little bit more. Get that where I think it needs to be. So yeah, just like that. Hopefully you can see that 90 degrees here from this pivot point. We're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna put the gasket back on. Put the bowl back on. And clean that bowl out just a little bit. And we're going to put the bowl back on. All right. All right, there we go. Let's get this back on and see if we did any good. All right, so I don't want to bore you too much with the whole carburetor reinstallation process. So I've already put the carburetor back on and I have the tank just sitting in place. Now we're gonna see if this thing will start up and run. So let's see, we're gonna do petcock on, let the carburetor fill up, the switch is on, turn the key on, pull the choke, and hit the key. Well, it still doesn't seem to want to idle off choke, but it may just be set to idle too slow. So we're gonna make a couple of adjustments and see what we can do. I'm gonna turn the idle speed screw up a little bit. And I'm going to adjust the mixture screw and see where it's set at again. Alright, let's see what happens. So that seems to be pretty good. It's, it sounds pretty good. I had to turn the idle speed up a little bit, the speed screw up a little bit, and I had to adjust the mixture just a little bit. I believe it was running too rich. I leaned it out just a little bit, and now it sounds good. So we're gonna finish putting this back together, put the seat back on, and take it for a little ride, make sure it's okay. And then I think this one will be ready to go back to whatever kit it is that rides it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and check my playlist for other videos. I have small engine repair and motorcycle repair out there. And just check back with me. There'll be more videos coming, and we'll do some more repair work. And I hope this encourages you to get out and do some of your own repair work. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.